Hey, this is Ron at the radiologictechnologist.com. I wanted to do a real quick, I wanted to talk to the X-ray techs out there who are trying to decide if they want to move to an advanced modality or what their career may look like, because there's a lot of stuff going on right now with COVID that has an effect on that. And so I've got an article pulled up here on Ant Mini. It's titled Medical Imaging Shrinks During the COVID-19 Tidal Wave. And basically what it's calling out, and this was put out September 2nd, and basically what it's calling out is, of course, imaging slowed down during a portion of fiscal year 2020 because of the COVID virus. But there is still some ebbs and flows within that. In other words, mammography and MRI took a hit and drop, but CT was up and portable X-ray was up because of how we had to diagnose for COVID. And so one of the things they point out in this article is that many budgets are diverted away from non-essential equipment. And these are things, as you're trying to decide, do you want to go into CT or ultrasound or MRI, you have to try to also think about what your administrator might be thinking. And that is the vantage point I'm kind of giving you as an administrator myself. The budgets are diverted away from non-essential equipment, and they're trying to extend the life of older systems, which has always been something I've been a proponent of anyway. I've never been a buy the newest, shiniest equipment just because I want to boast about having the best equipment. I'd rather put those dollars into employee growth than having the latest, shiniest widget. But now the articles are coming out saying healthcare providers are electing to extend the life of older systems. There's been a major decline in procedure volume. That applies to you thinking about going into IR. There's disrupted supply chains because there's certain countries that aren't getting us our stuff as fast as we're used to. Government shutdowns are affecting it, and a drop in gross domestic product, which not a lot we can do about that. But they give some data in this article I just wanted to share with you real quick. Overall, in this graph here, they show X-ray as a whole dropping 4% in 2020. Now, they don't say whether or not that includes portables, because I personally think portables went up quite a bit. But overall, and that's with C-arm, dental, fluoroscopy, general radiography, interventional, mammo, and veterinary. So overall, it went down 4% this year so far. Ultrasound's down 8%. Now, be thinking about that. You may say, well, this is just temporary and it may only be for a couple of years. But if you're looking right now to make a decision on, do I want to go into ultrasound or CT or MRI or nuke med, these are the things you should be looking at. Nuke med, for example, is down 10%. Now, you know what happens to the techs, to your hours when volumes are down. You get sent home and probably told to burn your PTO if you want to get paid. So ultrasound's down 8% at this point. And the rest of this year is going to be pretty shaky because we're still riding out this COVID thing. Who knows what 2021 brings? So think about that when you're trying to decide, do I want to go into ultrasound or do I want to go into nuke med? So X-ray's down 4%, ultrasound's down 8%, MRI's down 18% so far in 2020. CT is up 5%. Nuclear medicine is down 10%. So think of that. Think about that. Right now, the best option for guaranteed hours, if there is such a thing in this crazy world of healthcare, it's leaning towards CT. If you're an X-ray and you want to go up the ladder, look at CT, because your ED docs are always going to order it, even with appropriate use criteria, which, by the way, got kicked the can down the road another year or two. So that's not even in play. That was that little mandate that CMS said we're going to have to start going through all these hoops to determine, do you really need to order that? Is that the appropriate test to order? And that would have stopped a lot of this over ordering that we see, got kicked down the street. So they're still going to throw all the darts at the board and see what sticks, which means you're still going to get a lot of CTs ordered. So if you're looking at changing careers or advanced training, I would be looking at CT over MRI. Now, you're not going to get as much money as CT as you would as an MRI tech. You'd get even more money in ultrasound. You'd get even more money in nuke med, but the volumes are dropping. Nuke med's been on the slide for a while, and we've known that. Here's a couple more trends for you. CT market growth has been largely driven by the rise in chronic illness, as well as the modality's utilization and diagnosis of patients with COVID. Well, we knew that. MRI manufacturers launched several new solutions to increase efficiency, patient throughput, and utilize automated protocols. However, procedure volumes and reimbursements both dropped in 2020. So it doesn't matter that they were making better equipment. When your reimbursements drop and your volumes drop, you're not going to have as many exams. Ultrasound is going to be affected. For those of you thinking about going into ultrasound, these docs are loving these handheld ultrasound, these eye butterflies and all these little handheld pocket. There's residents, medical residents now that are going through school that's just as common as a stethoscope, their pocket ultrasound machine. Ultrasound machines are being manufactured at smaller scale and at lower cost, and they have the potential to drastically expand the use of diagnostic imaging in new healthcare settings, i.e. in the emergency room. COVID-19 will intensify not only the impact of political and economic challenges, but also the emergence and acceleration of ultrasound technology. So it's, they want to use ultrasound if they can for COVID, but they want to use it on the spot. They don't want to wait for a tech to come get the patient and take them to the room and do the 45-minute exam, and then you got to wait for the radiologist to read it, and you got the golden hour, you're waiting for a report. The docs want to just pull it out of their pocket and take a quick look, do a fast scan. So handhelds and point-of-care ultrasound systems are expected to become more prominent as they demonstrate their immense value by helping to address the pandemic. So if you're thinking about going into ultrasound, and I went through ultrasound school, I love ultrasound, but that's going to start affecting our jobs. The sharp drop in procedural volume across X-ray system, with the exception of mobile X-ray, has caused a major decline in the market in 2020. However, as the number of COVID-19 cases slows, hospital budgets will be reallocated to replace and digitalize an aged install base of equipment. Yeah, they're gonna start moving money back around after this settles down, but it's still going to be a new environment. They're still going to, I bet you they're going to stop going with all the brand new equipment like they used to do and start getting more out of what they already have, because look at the big hit the administrators have taken, not in salaries, of course, but the overall revenue has dropped. Unless you paid attention, there are hospitals that made money through this. ED volumes went up to cover where the general diagnostics went down in the department. But I just wanted to share this because I know this is what everybody thinks about when they're either in school or you're a new tech, is where am I going to go next, right? Because radiology is a great platform to springboard into an advanced modality and make more money and kind of climb that career ladder. But these are some things to think about. And you can go to antmini.com. I go there daily. You skim through their articles and see what's happening outside of the world of the tech. Start looking at the administrative stuff. At this point, I'd say CTs is still a solid option, and you can always springboard from there into MRI or from there into ultrasound. And the overarching of all this is look at how many techs you need in each of those modalities. As you're considering what you want to do next after X-ray, stop and look at your facility. How many X-ray techs are there? Like 35 to 50 if you're at a good sized hospital. If you're at a critical access hospital, there's probably only 5 of you and you're being asked to do everything. So that's where your multimodality techs are worth their weight in gold. But in a regular facility, 200, 500 bed hospital, you're going to have 35 to 50 X-ray techs. You're going to have maybe 7 nuke med techs at the most, maybe 15 ultrasound techs. You're going to have a good 20 CT techs, MRI, 8, depends on how thin that administrator runs the department. So, look at the pool of the size of these departments. If you're considering going to nuke med, and I'm not knocking nuke med, it's a great modality and they make really good money and we have to have those guys, but jobs are going to be scarce. It's going to be hard to get a job in nuke med as opposed to CT, for example. And if you can do both X-ray and CT and oscillate back and forth in case they need help, that's another big plus. So just putting this out there to you guys on the front lines in X-ray, if you're looking at which modality should I go into next, or if you're a student who's getting into X-ray school and you're already starting, because I did in X-ray school, I was already thinking about the next step. As soon as I graduated X-ray school, I put in an application to ultrasound school and did them kind of back to back. So these are some things I wanted you to think about. I hope this has been helpful. If it is, please hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you later. Stay safe.